Welcome to my new video. Zero to Hero, patch review, SSF tips, Wisp parties and Wasp parties. It is all in here. Enjoy. And if you do, like and subscribe, it is much appreciated. I start by creating my witch, pick up the wand and test my aim, pick up the scepter for 2 skellies, the miller dies and I get my first achievement. The first uncut skill gem turns into Essence Drain, which together with Unearth clears like crazy early on. I absolutely do not die in the first zone, meet Pharaoh, the new NPC, and he introduces the new league mechanic. Activate the rune, kill some monsters and reap the rewards. You can't go wrong there. That is, until you reach the point where you need to start looking for several mandatory runestones in a map, which isn't fun and slows down the campaign by a lot. The campaign was made significantly faster by cutting several areas, which I'll get into later, but by adding these obligatory hunts of runestones in several zones per act as well, the campaign is about as slow and tiresome as it was before. The league mechanic is well thought out, but the campaign is still too slow and grindy for my taste, and that is with a great leveling build like my own. You do get rewards, like here under the tree, allowing you to craft several things using a forge you will unlock, and you can learn several recipes, and that is all pretty cool, but making all those unlocks mandatory during the campaign just puts an additional burden on completing it, and the campaign for me is by far the most problematic part of PoE right now. At the start you will get your runic anvil from Pharaoh, allowing you to add runic ward to non-unique gear for now. Later on you will unlock more recipes for additional crafts. I use it on a shield here just to test it out and I get 12 runic ward on this thing. I load in my own build with the build maker, and that is a little wonky still on day 1, but it's very cool. It also shows the gems you're expected to take. Back in town I get a lucky identify, +1 the minion on a helmet which I can equip after reaching the required level. I equip a shield as well, block is underrated for summoners. The Rust King goes down and I craft myself a great scepter, +1 and some spirit. I take Frost Bomb for exposure and here is the single target. Gas arrow from the snipers, ignite that using the flame wall and bosses go poof. It is quite satisfying. I get new boots with movement speed, a slightly better shield and I decide to sell the unique for 1000 gold. I regal my scepter for some mana regen, a chest drops a healthy stack of currency, bosses keep dying like flies, gas arrow early on is crazy strong, I craft a bit of life on gear and a new amulet. I noticed that in Freythorn the rituals now point to each location with a flock of locusts, that's very cool and incredibly useful. I kill the king, get the spirit gem and slot in raging spirits. From here on I am just using flame wall to spawn them, and I encounter my first unique rewards from the league mechanic. Code of Red, it's not bad, decent life is on there. A little later I get my first alloy, crafting materials that remove a mod and add a guaranteed crafted modifier. Single target is still fine on the executioner, and before even reaching Geonor I get a lesser jeweler's orb as a reward. I'm using it on the snipers, they are my main source of damage currently. I get a second one inside Geonor's mansion from another league mechanic, which ultimately leads me to the Act 1 boss, who goes down without much of a fight. Single target is just excellent still, and I'm rewarded with a challenge completion too. On to Act 2, onto the Vestiri Desert, but not before I check the vendors one last time, using the Regex and spot this nice scepter, which I purchase. Act 2 drops tier 2 support gems, meaning I add bidding to the snipers for more damage on the gas arrow explosion, plus arcane surge for mana sustain on the flame wall. Wrathbreaker goes down, I get Pain Offering, new movement speed boots from the vendor, kill the engineer too, although here you can start to see the gas arrow explosion damage is already a bit less. I upgrade my amulet, kill Balbala for the trial entry, encounter an undiscovered recipe, use any lesser essences I have on gear, might as well, it is SSF after all. Upgrade SRS after a spirit gem drops, equip a topaz ring for lightning res, also 4-link the SRS after finding another jeweler's orb, decide to add Minion Splash to try it out. Purchase a chest piece from the vendor with spirit on it. Encounter a new runic skill, which just turns out to be all bad for my build. Kill the Colossus without much trouble. Find more league mechanic vaults, and then it is already time for Jamanra. One of the harder bosses in the campaign, and one of the longer ones too, due to his massive life bar. GGG actually nerfed him by another 17% a week later, but this was day 1 of course, and it is at this point that the build is definitely still comfortable, but also definitely starting to slowly but surely fall off. which is all fine. We have Val guards to look forward to soon, but it is noticeable as you can likely tell in this fight. Still though, Jamanra isn't a challenge, he goes down and that means it is time for Act 3.
Oh look.
In the swamp, I pick up more support gems, tier 3 and another lesser jeweler's orb, and here is a small snippet of gameplay. I'm rushing quite a bit, not clearing entire zones or anything like that. It is still a comfy way to clear stuff. I kill the monkey, discover more league mechanic related zones, I kill the chimera, I have indeed not ascended yet, also not in Act 2. I kill Blackjaw, I take a good look at several runes and realize they all suck. I identify a +1 minion amulet, and I do want to applaud GGG for making pressure plates instead of levers in this zone. It's a huge improvement. I kill Ignagduck for more spirits, discover more league mechanic recipes, and then it is finally time to ascend. I start with the Chaos Trial for no apparent reason, do the Sekama right after, and take Beta's Will for a bunch of extra spirit. Back in the campaign, I discover ward-bound minions, which seem promising but ultimately aren't. And in Udzal, I can finally pick up the Val guards. Check for the guys that throw grenades, create oil stains and cost 50 spirit, like this one. I do a quick test to verify it is the right one. I use a lesser jeweler's orb on it, remove raging spirits and flame wall, give them multi-shot 2, feeding frenzy 1 and magnified area 2. The extra AoE is very nice. I also slot in the ward-bound guys just to try it out. After all of this I have 5 Val guards, just like the guide describes, and then all of a sudden the build looks like this for the foreseeable future, where I will provide a little showcase on Viper Nazi. It is not like this one-shots or anything, but it heavy stuns, does consistent damage, and is overall very solid for the rest of the campaign. Doryani is no different, honestly. He dies just as easily, meaning we've reached the end of Act 3, but not before taking on a small crafting session on this energy shield chest piece with spirit. First a regal orb to make it rare as I had no essences left, then 2 exalted orbs hitting more energy shield and stun, and then a Gnawed Rib to finish it for 15% fire resistance. It's a decent outcome. And while I'm at it, I also upgrade my amulet a bit, I might as well. Life and rarity is very nice. In the abandoned prison, I take mana recovery for flasks, and the league mechanic drops a new item, this crest. It is for rune forging. I only recorded bits and pieces for the rest of the campaign because I was bored and wanted to get to the endgame. Here is a decent craft of gloves though, Chaos Res and ES, plus some decent exalted outcomes. For now, I use resistance runes, trying to get res capped, and a very nice helmet with +1, it's not too shabby, it is a minor upgrade. I 4-link elemental weakness with another guaranteed jewelers in this zone. I kill the shark, get a unique jewelry outcome, surely it's a mage blood. Close enough. I take all attributes because that allows you to equip gear and support gems easier. I kill more animals, this time a monkey, and this guy, the former pope turned evil. I drop a greater jewelers, but decide to keep it for when I swap to the powered zealots. The Val guards, as you can see in the Tavakai fight, still do plenty of damage on a 4-link. I can increase that a bit with Frost Bomb and Elemental Weakness, and he dies as well. The Shark Fin quest is actually worth doing now. I took faster recharge because that is a stat which is hard to get these days, and you can buy jewelry here as well. This ring is pretty good. In the Interludes, I kill the witch for more spirit. This brings me up to 7 Val guards, and our beast killing spree continues with another monkey. I get a new ring. Maddox doesn't offer much, but the 50 spirit here is decent enough. In the Edged Ravine, you can get the powered zealots, our ultimate specters. I verify again to see I've picked up the right one, and I failed. It is the wrong one. You want the guys that cast Spark with the blue balls, and they're wearing spears as well. I do a quick respec for some decks so I can wear that unique chest. I drop a decent shield in the raised field. Here's another greater jeweler's orb from a league mechanic. I return to the Edged Ravine for another attempt. This time I'm sure I have the right one, but still a quick check, and yes, these are the ones. I am not swapping yet though, I still need all of these support gems. I destroy a lovely couple and encounter another lovely couple. Here half of the equation bugs out though. A relog doesn't solve it, but a restart to checkpoint does. And that's cool because it's also another challenge. The interludes are almost over, so I use my last remaining desecrated Nod currency. The shield rolls another resistance mod, which is very helpful, the ring evasion, which isn't great, and the boots a bit of life, which isn't horrible either. I kill the prince. With the Valguards, I identify another +1 minion helmet, which means it's time to craft. I get a good defense roll, guaranteed cold res from an essence, and I save it for when I get better currency to craft further. This concludes the interludes and the campaign, which I feel is still too long and grindy, but now the real fun starts. I make it to the end game. I talk to Dory and it takes a while, but the atlas is loaded. Is it generating on the spot the first time you open it? Who knows, maybe it is just slow. I get clear instructions, move to this location, so let's do that. I destroy both map bosses with the Valguards, after which I can travel to my hideout and it all starts to feel cozy and familiar. I need gear upgrades and identify this chest. Decent energy shield, 53 spirit, this is very good. Double slam, I get an extra socket, 20% quality, and double storm runes for the resistances. I then waste a couple 100,000 on scepter gambling without any tangible result. Back in maps I encounter an abyss, plus an abyss creature who points me to a location on the atlas, the well. I'm not going there yet though, I am on my way to my first precursor tower. I run only magic waystones, playing it safe, meaning I can slot in the tablet for now, but that means just one abyss tablet. After completing that tower, we get a great cinematic, something Path of Exile just doesn't do, like at all. In 13 years of Path of Exile 1, there is no meaningful in-game cinematic to speak of, and Path of Exile 2 does try to immerse players more into this story and lore, which is something I appreciate. While Q-Dog cycles through all of his characters, so their names are not deleted due to hitting the retention timers, I am setting up my powered Zealots, now that I've gathered all of the support gems and a greater Jeweler's Orb. They're linked to Feeding Frenzy 2, Wild Shards, Pierce 3 and Projectile Acceleration 3. I also make it 20% quality for 20% more damage. For now I get to summon 6 of these. I runeforge several gear pieces for some ward, despite not having a great use case for that, but I will be able to summon the wardspout minions at least, as you can see. In the next map, I drop another greater Jeweler's Orb from the League mechanic, and during the fight you can see the Zealots and how effective they are. I use the orb on Unearth. I do initial crafting on the go, just using greater transmutation and augmentation orbs. These gloves, hitting Chaos Res and life, that is good. If it were bad, I would just drop it on the floor, but I'm not recording that, or at least I am, but I'm not showing that. Here is some single target damage, I think in a tier 1 magic map, but given the state of the build fresh out of the campaign, this is very smooth. I identify new boots, 25% movement speed and resists, let's use a rib on that, or fail a slam. I continue on those gloves, the regal is decent with energy shield, the slams are as well, and with the socket and quality this is great for early maps. I keep salvaging for resources, I socket a bunch of lightning resistances, so now I am res capped, desecrate life on a ring, and also decent life on those boots. It's very nice outcomes. I decide it's time to start running rare maps after all of these upgrades with 4 mods. That also means I can use 2 tablets. The next greater jeweler goes on to Pain Offering, and I meet Elder Maddox, who triggers a Delirium. I find the UI of this thing pretty confusing, to be honest. The next rune provides a Divine Orb, always useful in SSF, and there it is, without a think, because the loot filter sounds are bugged at this point. After the Delirium is over, I have a little chat about the Raven and the Hare, and another area on the Atlas opens up. I will visit this at some point.
Your aid, I'm retracing the Raven Trickster's tale.
I'm first visiting Hilda, however, and again she points me to an area on the Atlas which is quickly becoming very populated. I found a fortress, Delirium, Abyss and Hilda all within an hour or so. It's quite overwhelming and there's still 2 to 3 times as much stuff out there. This may be something to look into for future patches. It's great there's so much content, but now it all comes to you at once, which is a lot. Because speaking of which, here's the next one, Ritual, with another NPC, Aoife. This build is made for Ritual, it is my favorite mechanic, and Ritual is made for SSF, so we are in business really. I equip a gold charm, rarity, that's always good. Speaking of Ritual though, it's got a massive rework and now only provides omens for crafting and uniques. This is amazing for SSF, as any unique of tier 3 or lower is pretty much deterministically farmable as long as you're willing to grind it out. Only tier 2 uniques and rarer you won't deterministically get. You can defer like before, and if you don't see anything you like, you just offer the rest of the tributes to the king, allowing you to ultimately fight him. That'll be way later though. I get mobility support for Unearth, so it's a bit smoother to cast and walk. I'm upgrading my army with, for example, level 14 skill gems and an extra sniper. I encounter a rabbit, hare, wisp empowered monster. These are juicy, but not in tier 2 maps. And here is the boss, in a tier 2 rare waystone. Very smooth. I'm happy with the performance of the build so far. A little later, I come across a Vaal temple, which I decide to enter. I path to the architect, notice that entire packs are completely invulnerable. Another bug. This is very weird, I have no real clue what is going on, but okay. I make it to the architect regardless, kill him, he doesn't drop much, and I will have to redo this at a higher level, the game tells me. I won't, however, I've done enough of these temples last league. Another Greater Jewelers drops. This one goes on to Elemental Weakness. I've made my way to the entrance of the fortress. In one of its towers I'm pulling a bunch of levers, maybe these will be pressure plates later too, and I summon Doryani. He gets the whole thing working. We unintentionally free a lich who escapes on a dragon, because of course he does, but on the flip side the gateway has opened and the fortress is now accessible. I get a new target, another gate, because why not, and the path forward is clear. That is if you ignore the 5 side quests that I've racked up until now. Speaking of which, here's another one, Alif, from the Breach department. I don't like the new Breach too much, with barely any loot from the monsters themselves and tokens to trade in with the tree. It feels the whole reward system is now locked behind the tree, which in my opinion is not as satisfying as a gameplay loop. And it is yet another place on the Atlas that you have to portal towards. This isn't too bad once, but every league start, I'm not so sure about this. I hope we get a way to directly travel to these places, all of these different league mechanic hubs, they're all over the place as well.
Thing? Of course not. I said you won't. See you there.
I kill a rogue, still a nice way for upgrades, especially jewelry. After completing the map, you get to hit a relay and earn an Atlas point, 1 out of the 300 plus. Here is the entire Atlas, it is quite something. I had a little look around and you will eventually get all points of course, but I decided to go for the shrines first, because I just really like shrines. I get my first crest from the league mechanic. This is required for crafting. I craft myself a quick belt upgrade with a regal and some exalties. And here is Rune, he also made his way from PoE 1 to PoE 2. Here is another crest from Varana. You need different versions for different uniques, I think. Bosses keep dying fast. I keep clicking relays and this will simply continue. I drop level 15 skill gems, meaning I can upgrade the Zealots. I made it to the next gateway, but I need 2 more fragments, Doryani tells me. I slot an owl idol in my scepter for 10% increased cast speed from minions. I drop some nice boots with decent energy shield, use a spare rib on them, plus another energy shield slam, and this has potential. In the well I get fire and chaos res, some quality, a socket and a lightning res rune. This is great. Speaking of great, how about this one? +2 and some life. I slam with lightning res essence, rune forge it and leave it for now. I lack the currency to craft further. I also lack support gems, so this one comes in handy. And here's a cold res ring with at least life and lightning res. It's an upgrade, but it's far from good. Small steps though in SSF. In SSF, as Merry Wisps are your friend, if the monsters they possess don't one-shot you, that is. Here it possesses a rare and drops something rare as well, a rabbit idol. 15% spirit on a scepter, that is amazing. I will wait for a better scepter though before applying this, and the next Greater Jeweler's orb goes onto the frost bomb. I've made it to one of the gateways Dory told me to go, push more levers, kill the Guardian at the end and activate a beacon. This opens the gate behind it, where the fragment is. I need those to fight the first pinnacle boss, the Arbiter of Ash. And look, another +2 minion helm, also for the stash for later crafting. And again, another Greater Jewelers. I decide to use it on the ward-bound minions. I barely use these, but still. I keep increasing the waystone tiers, now level 16 gems drop, meaning better powered Zealots. I'm running tier 6 waystones and strongboxes like this help with that, as I'm sure you can tell. Sustain in both waystones and currency for crafting and tablets is still pretty bad at this point. Here is a level 17 skill gem, meaning another upgrade for my specters. This is my first 5 rune flying stone, and I also reach the western gateway, kill the guy guarding it, activate the beacon, and once more a new area is unlocked. For reference, here is the single target damage. It is just as smooth as it was in a tier 1 waystone, and I am currently in a tier 8 or tier 9 in this footage. I'm crafting 2 decent bases here, a ring and a belt. I also found my first perfect Jeweler's orb running tier 10 waystones, which obviously goes to the powered Zealots. I use that to slot in muster support. It is time to gather fragments, starting here in Geonor's domain. This guy still hurts, I better be a little bit more careful, but the second time is the charm, no issues there. I have the fragment slotted into the big gate and there is one more to go. I drop another perfect jewelers, try to get lucky with a scepter, rolling for +1, which doesn't happen. Mine is still only +1. I reach level 83, get a level 18 skill gem, so I upgrade the Zealots. I fight Doryani on orders of Doryani. This currently makes absolutely 0 sense, this timeline with the endgame overall, but hey, it's all good. Damage is very decent still, these bosses are quite tanky. He goes down, I return to the chamber, pick up the last fragment, slot in that fragment and proceed.
You are too late.
It's been a while since I fought the Arbiter of Ash. This is what those fragments have unlocked, just like before. I get blasted by the first firestorm he does. Second try is a little better, but the whole ground is frozen. I have some issues dodging his attacks, and I completely miss those orbs descending from the sky. The third attempt, he drops a ball and blasts me in that area at the same time. This doesn't seem fair at all. I have killed this guy before, just not too often. After a few more tries though, he does go down. And there is the Lich again, Techrod with his dragon. This guy was already here in the last patch. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense back then, but now it does. He steals the 4th edict in front of my eyes and flies off to the distance. As a matter of fact, he is now circling the main tower in the fortress, and I think that is pretty cool. And I thought it is time for a little story, because what is up with all of these edicts? I'm not really a lore guy, but I did a little bit of research and wanted to expand on this a bit. Because what even is an edict? An edict is apparently derived from the Latin edicere or edicere, which means to proclaim. An edict is therefore a proclamation issued by an authority. It carries weight, and you could say that it is effectively the law. And we have 4 of those, at least. It is not clear, at least to me, who the authority is for each of them, but apart from that, the edicts themselves, barring the first one perhaps, are relatively clear. So let's talk about them, of course in chronological order. Starting with the first edict, which is basically the foundation of divinity itself, serving as the source of immortality that empowered the gods and the first civilizations of Rayclast. The genesis of it all, you could say, the creation. By a god, typically, but which god created divinity, meaning the other gods? That is unclear, at least to me. The second edict is the beast, created as a contingency force to put a stop to humanity's misuse of divine power that they got from the first edict then, I suppose. The beast fundamentally alters the nature of divinity and brings a seed of corruption into the world. In Path of Exile 1, you even travel to the beast, you are inside of the beast. In Path of Exile 2, the seed of corruption resurfaces, and this is the main chase item in the campaign. The corruption is spreading, the beast is growing again, although I'm not sure why the Countess wants this to happen and what her ultimate goal is. I may just have missed that, I'm not a big lore guy myself, but so far she's just sleeping with a bunch of guys to have them fight for her. That's all I got from my limited research, and if you know better than me, there's a decent chance that you do, please let us all know in the comments and I will pin your post. The third edict is the weapon, an ancient reality-shaping spear used by the precursors. It was designed for the sole purpose of cleansing the corruption and destroying the beast without destroying the entire world. Tavakai snatches it in Act 4. The Hooded One reclaims it in Act 4 after we defeat Tavakai, and I think that we have it currently. I'm not sure where it is exactly, but Tavakai gives it back, so I guess some NPC currently is holding on to it, right? Let me know in the comments, once again. And this brings me to the fourth edict, and this is the flame seed or the purifying fire that was just taken from me by the Lich in this fight, guarded by the Arbiter of Ash. What it does is conduct a massive apocalyptic reset. It uses cleansing fire to burn the world clean, completely wiping out civilizations corrupted by the plague when all other contingencies or edicts, I suppose, fail. The fourth edict should not be used or it is game over. And in this expansion 0.5 we are trying to prevent the fourth edict to be executed or fulfilled or whatever happens to edicts in that sense.
To find you.
Let's talk about Expedition and the League mechanic. Yes, I know this chapter is called Breach Part 2. It turns out you must do Treasure Island, Blunder's Point in the Interludes to continue the League mechanic, which is pretty bad I think. It is way too much micromanagement for my taste. I haven't talked about Hilda for a while, but I've been hunting. This is another great beast, and here is an excellent Conjurer Mantle. I use a cold res essence and a rib of course, plus simply 2 slams. Respec, few attributes, get 2 iron runes in there and get a great roll on the desecrate. This is a great chest piece. I'm now at 7 Zealots and I have Convalescence back and available to me. And it plays a little bit like this. No real changes, in other words. That helm I made earlier with only 3 modifiers, I equipped that, waiting for desecrated currency. I now have some, so it's time to slam and rib. The slams aren't doing all that much, and the desecrate is 28 strength, which is useful. I reached level 86. I still have not ascended a 3rd time, by the way. A rune drops another perfect jewelers, which I add to the pain offering skill, and I put in Minion Mastery. Here is another great beast, the 2nd one for Hilda. 2 more to go. Reason for doing this is some passive points from these masters. It is back to Aelith, who welcomes me in the monastery and introduces the tree. You collect hive blood and womb gifts from doing breach, and then you get to play with the tree. Like I mentioned, not a great gameplay loop in my opinion, this delayed mechanic. That said, I do like the tree itself, it is surprisingly balanced. For SSF it is incredibly useful, but only for limited use cases, and I feel GGG has done a fine job here. I'm just testing out a few for now, but later I will grow this tree a lot. I discover a breached area on the Atlas, and using a breach stone I can uncover that area, making it accessible. This serves as a tutorial to be doing a bunch of breach, which is quite nice I feel. After a bit more birthing I will be on my way. I drop a spirit gem and upgrade Convalescence to level 17, and in the same map the Zealots by using a level 19 skill gem. I craft on Researcher's strongboxes for the currency, this is usually worth it. Also in this case a decent outcome. I started to do these breach maps, meaning I get passive points for the league mechanic. Here is that unveiling by using the breach stone and another great beast for Hilda, number 3. Here's a quick peek at my selection, this is all still before she got nerfed. This is day 3 likely of the league or something, and speaking of masters, I complete my first Doryani cleansing in a tier 15 map. Also Doryani is a master, meaning I get a point to invest with him as well. This is the first time I'm seeing these runes, they're just not all that great for my build. It's more breach and more levels, level 88 at this point. I've arrived true and well in endgame spamming tier 15 Waystone, and here is my first double divine reward. I still have 7 Zealots and a few spare minions for the muster support, and still very decent single target damage after cursing and applying exposure using Frostbomb. Plus this guy drops a Twilight Reliquary key, it's always fun in SSF. I turn my skeletal sniper into a maim and culling minion, I identify a great shield, rib it and get a decent desecrated mod. This is quite nice with the corruption adding nothing unfortunately. I find an Enfolding Dawn and decide to runeforge it. It gets better but not by a huge margin or anything. I randomly craft a pretty decent jewel and look at that, a lucky alchemy orb. All the unlucky ones I didn't record obviously. I still have a +1 in fact, so +2 and a bunch of spirit, that is great. I jawbone it, which rolls damage, put in a rabbit idol for another 15% spirit. It's a great upgrade.
An old prize.
A gamble box provide a perfect jeweler, and I'm baited by this unique utility belt. It is the Route 2 version though. I identify a lot of potential upgrades while doing a map with only strongboxes. It's very fun I think. I reach level 90, get a bunch of uniques from a single strongbox. I like this league, so I decided to sponsor GGG a bit by buying some stash tabs, and because I'm now level 90, maybe I should ascend the 3rd time. I hate this shit so much guys, if I could I just would skip it entirely. But hey, let's get this over with. The boss gets completely one-shot of course at this point. I get my Hellhound, a few more jewels, and that is it. One of those jewels is decent, so it goes in. I put Loyalty, Minion Mastery and Last Gasp on the dog plus a few others. It's also another minion for the muster support of the Zealots. Here is my nemesis for the league, Flying Wasps. My army has issues damaging these guys, but I'm not the only one. Some people suggest it is because they're flying, but other flying monsters are fine. In the hideout, I waste a few chance orbs on belts. I notice the league mechanic starts to be dropping considerable loot from all of the monsters that it spawns, and I get a lucky craft on this helmet. My current helmet isn't bad, but this one could be better. I slam it with a lightning res essence, slam fire res and tier 3 energy shield using greater exalted orbs, and this is a straight up upgrade, as long as I can fix my attributes, which I can. I quickly craft a new shield to try and fix my resistances. I use a Val Orb on it for 10% block chance, which isn't bad. I corrupt my old helmet for an extra socket, that's also not bad. And I use 2 runes to cap my resistances. This brings me to just over 5000 energy shield. Finally, I see this promising sapphire with just energy energy shield, but after a non-impactful corruption it is still an upgrade, bringing me to 5.1k ES. And a little later I find a rib, use it on the helm, hit energy shield for another improvement. I've discovered the Withered Willow, the home base for Delirium. I kill Hilda's last great beast, meaning I now have all of her skill points to allocate, and this ancient inscription looks pretty juicy. It would later be nerfed by 67%. I take Patient Battle too for random map bosses. I reach level 91, encounter Aelith again and start doing some Breach where Aelith explodes to save the world. I discover a new area in Fortress, maybe this was always there. And speaking of fortresses, here is a Hive Fortress. It is a copy of the PoE 1 mechanic, except it's kinda bugged. There are basically no monsters spawning in these waves, as you can see. So I'm just standing there for 20 waves until I must escape, and then there suddenly are at least some monsters. You get decent loot at the end, lots of womb gifts, and a little later it is time to fight the pinnacle breach bosses Ash and Tool. Also, this fight is a replica from Path of Exile 1, and there's nothing wrong with that, I feel. My army hasn't significantly improved for a while. It is still 7-powered Zealots, but it is more than sufficient to kill these guys. Most of the fight is roleplay, and after defeating them I get a quest item. This Breachlord sack I present to the Dreamer Chayula, who then returns, making all the monks in here very happy. Chayula sends me to the final part of this storyline to kill Kshesh, who was in the game before. Now, this whole storyline makes a lot more sense though. This zone is mostly the same as before, just kill monsters and advance the breach for a minute or two until you reach Kshesh, and also that fight hasn't changed. The main change, I believe, is that there is no longer an Uber version of this, as you cannot spend more currency to do a harder version of the boss. So it is the Breachlord sack and that's it. And I like that actually. I am all for aspirational content, but it was kinda convoluted, the previous system. This is much more clean, clear and understandable. And Kshesh is a very cool fight. I think he has around 10 million life, which my army has very few issues with. He drops a Choir of the Storm, that's pretty cool, and the Dreamer is happy with my efforts. There's a bit of an epilogue to the storyline, which I won't further spoil, and that concludes the Breach content. But there's one more thing, which I both like and dislike, the growing Breach tree. I kinda talked about it already. What I enjoy about it is how balanced this thing is, and that you can only get specific items, minion belts and rings for example, which is great. So that means it serves a clear purpose, it fills a niche into the game, and you can only get these rings from here. I love that about game systems, that they serve a specific purpose, instantly giving you a reason to do the content in solo self-found. This is one of the things in SSF that I enjoy, having to play the whole game to get upgrades. I dislike the delayed reward, that you first have to go out and kill monsters, collect blood and womb gifts, and then do a ton of clicks in this tree to convert that into actual loot. I would rather see this tree simply influences the drops of breach monsters in maps, so you don't have to travel here all the time. Breach in maps feels pretty terrible too, because there is no loot as a consequence. And interacting with the tree isn't great either in my opinion. It is constantly interacting with these womb gifts. It provides me with a cool belt, which I appreciate, but I would rather drop this thing from monsters than get it from the tree. I hope that makes sense. I'm back to meet Aoife, who tells me about the King in the Mists, a guy I already know. This all happens in the Ritual Hub. Back at home, I try my luck at an Unfolding Dawn chest piece, runeforge it and corrupt it, hoping for more spirit, but it is not meant to be. The League mechanic drops a Wrathpit Globe. It's a nice item, and speaking of nice items, the next ritual has a Mage Blood. Unfortunately, I can't defer because I only have 900 tribute left and I need 1000. This is very unlucky, but I'm working on the ritual tree, and before that you are barely getting any tribute. It's a real shame, but yeah, not much I can do about it. A little later, I find a Venter's Gamble, which is great for the build, and also the King's Invite drops. Aoife explains I need to use the audience on the Atlas. I do that, travel there, and there's the fight. It is the exact same fight as in Path of Exile 1 once more, and this fight already existed of course. I get a shiny belt, Aoife's body, and the King's head, which back in Kier Tarth I place on a totem or something. I then have to plot a course full of ritual maps, complete all of those and collect a bunch of fragments. Those allow me to ultimately fight the new pinnacle boss from Ritual, Bodak. The belt I got, Ingenuity, is well rolled. I just don't have that much use for it at the moment. It's time for a bunch of ritual, and this league mechanic is completely nuts at this moment in time. In terms of enemies, I mean. Here, 2 map bosses in a ritual, it's not too bad. You get plenty of good rewards, although I will never see a Mage Blood again. Whenever you encounter the Queen in the Mist, you get a special altar, and you better be careful because she hurts like hell. I also drop one of the quest items for unlocking Bodek, and after collecting them all, I dress up the wooden doll, revoke my name using a ritual, thus becoming nameless, and I descend into the darkness. This is an excellent fight, I think. First, you fight him into the darkness, and you can indeed not see anything for the most part. After you take off his initial shield, you are assisted by 3 ritual spirits and you get to fight him for real. I kill him, get a bit of loot, 6 ritual skill tree points, a small bit of epilogue finishing the ritual questline, and I decide to specialize in infested rituals for now, hunting for the bones of Uller Boots. I reach level 92. I keep enjoying Ritual though, as it is simply amazing for SSF. I find a Mjolnir, that's a cool weapon, I've never used it. I get killed by another queen, drop more Ventured Gambles, divine and equip those for the spirit, fix resistances by replacing a rune, and that means I can have another Spectre. I am now up to 8. I also complete the entire Ritual passive tree. The League mechanic drops a perfect Jeweler's Orb which I pick up after a short fight, and a little later another. Also, the loot filter sounds are fixed after 4 days or so. I make my way back to the fortress, into the Patriarch halls, where I'm run over by a subway. I encounter Fix, another pretty cool fight who I ultimately defeat, and I recover the Origin Spark. Then in the Matriarch hall, it's not Fix, but Fia, who kills me first, but fortunately I have more than one attempt. I need those because also the second try ends in disaster. But now I think I understand the mechanics. It is a bit like the Arbiter of Ash, and in the third try she goes down, dropping the Origin Cradle. These 2 items combined form the Origin Core, which you can place at the Origin Tower to unlock the final pinnacle fight of this expansion, the Arbiter of Divinity. The Arbiter guards or has proclaimed the first edict, that which brought divinity into the world. Tekrot, the Lich on the dragon, was trying to steal it or use it or do something with it, and the Arbiter of Divinity isn't having it, clearly. What is unclear to me is how the 4th edict, the total destruction of the world, that flame that he stole from the Arbiter of Ash, is related to Tekrot showing up here around the 1st edict. Maybe he's trying to collect all edicts, like catch them all or something, because other than the 4th edict being the final resolution and sort of ultimate backup plan, I don't necessarily see the link. Why isn't the flame that Tekrot took from the Arbiter of Ash enough? Why does he also need this edict? I'm also not sure if we're even seeing Tekrot here or one of his minions doing his bidding. Either way, neither does Tekrot, he just got crushed and it is time to fight the Arbiter of Divinity. This again is an amazing fight. I won't spoil it by much, I think it is cool if you experience this yourself. I do kill him though, on the first try, and this time he drops a flask which is a cool item but it is not good for my build. You get to unlock a whole part of the fortress and collect all Atlas passive points in that area all at once, which is why I now have 49 Atlas passive points to spare. And this also means you can unlock the Atlas relatively fast if you just keep doing the Arbiter and unlock different parts of the fortress. This is the true game mode though, this is solo self-found, so you will still have to go out and find the Matriarch and Patriarch before you can get back here and do all of that. I didn't do that personally, maybe only once I believe, so I just primarily did these maps in the fortress one by one, and that is fun too because they have a lot of bonus content. It's time for a bit of crafting, starting with these boots. I just don't get the affixes from the slime that I want, so for now I stash it. I keep spamming my divine orbs on the Ventured's Gambles, and despite this not being impressive, it is an upgrade. I purchased that Mjolnir, add a sniper to my army now that I have a bit more spirit, drop another divine, I reach level 93, get a bit more energy shield from a helmet, and Dory identifies great boots. That is for later though. First, let's ascend a final time at level 93. It should be a piece of cake. Well, the damage is there for sure. All of the bosses go down very fast, which is great. The last boss does take a little longer, but he doesn't even get to do the intermediate phase, so it's all good. It means my final Ascendancy is done, and I get Beta's hand, going from 6k to 7.6k energy shield. I then get to open a bunch of chests, but no luck in terms of time lost jewels. The challenges are racking up too, meaning the statue in my hideout is getting quite impressive. The atlas is starting to look decent. I can now have 4 mod tablets, which is great. After doing some abyss, I found another rib, which I applied to those boots of before. I decided to use an Omen of Abyssal Echoes to have 2 rolls, and that is a good thing because the second roll is great. I decide on the flat armor and ES and use Greater Slam to hit mana. I slot in a Greater Iron Rune, losing some ES overall, but gaining movement speed and Chaos Res. Up next is a shield. It already has great stats. A Desecrate reduced curse effect, fix resistances with a rune, drop a Perfect Jeweler on Convalescence and link it to Vitality for some life regen. I also slot in a Warding Rune in the chest for another 50% reduced curse effect. I've started focusing on Abyss next, one of my favorite mechanics. I find a dark domain that is part of the quest and identify a +3 minion scepter. I augment mana, that's not great. I use a command essence for minion damage, activate an Omen of Sinistral Necromancy so the Desecrate hits a prefix because I want to roll some spirit on this thing. This is very unfortunate, however. I'm also out of other currency like in Abyssal Echoes. Despite the extra minion level compared to my current scepter, I just don't think that this is an upgrade. There's more though. How about these gloves? Decent magic base item. I slam life because that converts to spirit and energy shield. I desecrate it and I slam chaos res. The desecrate hits a bit of energy shield, that's not terrible, decent potential upgrade. I identify a scepter with a lot of spirit. I just YOLO slam it with a jawbone. I have plenty of those and not enough specters to use them on, but I will return to this shortly. I kill an Abyss boss, meaning I have to jump down to fight Kulamak, which at the start isn't difficult, but the more mods that you put on him, the harder he gets, of course. I'm going for the full version here and managed to kill him. This gives me a load of Abyss passive points, which is great. The whole tree, in fact. And that completes the Abyss quest. While here I gamble on those specters, it is all bad, however. This chest is great, with the tier 1 desecrate armor and energy shield. There's not much else to it, it's dropped like this. Sure, no resistances whatsoever, but it is a good amount of spirit. The Vaal Orb does nothing. I'm back at Elder Maddox. I do my very first anoint, level 93 by the way, for a 60% increased energy shield and armor on the chest piece. It brings me to 7.6k ES, which is very decent. I dabble a bit in expeditions after having visited King's March earlier. This is all before the 0.5.3 overhaul, so it is not very rewarding. Apart from a good number of currency strongboxes which are very helpful in SSF, there's very little dropping. You may, in an expedition, occasionally find this guy, the Knight. In my next Grand Expedition I discover a level 20 skill gem, the very first one, that's pretty huge for minions. And there it is. I will be using this on the powered Zealots. They're now in total level 25. After a few more expeditions, I find Gwenin, who was lost. She's found the boss, I blow up the door, and in classic GGG fashion at this point I jump into the hole. There I have to fight Medved, who is an easy target. We return and reunite with the other Kalgurans and continue our expedition. The next boss is Varana, also a familiar face of course. I try out one of those alloys, it's not bad, 14 spirit for a randomly removed mod on boots. A little later I meet Uthred, who drops a giant meteor on the Atlas after I drop him. And we will continue this expedition journey later because I have other things to do. I slam a scepter and hit +3, that's a good start. A perfect augment provides mana and for some reason I forget to use an essence and use a regal. Pretty bad outcome. I realized my mistake and just YOLO slam 3 times, at least I'm hitting some spirit. I use a prismatic alloy for increased ailment effect. The corruption doesn't seem to do much, but it doesn't break it either, and using horde runes provides attack and cast speed for the minions. An extra minion level is quite valuable, so I take this over my +2 specter despite it not being great. I remember those shoes from before with some spirit on it, and after swapping some stuff around I am res capped again, have the same army composition, but my whole army has gained now 1 minion level. I decide to gamble some more on Ventor's gambles, with this being an actual upgrade. And the next one being the jackpot. That is a wild outcome really. It means I can slot in a few iron runes for energy shield and I can get a sniper as well. I then start scale spamming an amulet, hoping for plus levels to minions, which I actually hit in about 20 tries. The other mods suck, sure, but I can desecrate and maybe get lucky. I decide to use an Abyssal Echoes for a double try. I get only 12 energy shields. This isn't a great amulet, but going from 0 to +2 minion levels is huge. Resistances are scuffed again, but runes of course fix that. I then decide to start using the Ingenuity belt, increasing the ring bonuses further. A questionable choice perhaps, but together with the boots from before, resistances remain capped and I gain even more spirit. I'm now all the way up to 8700 energy shield. A little later I hit level 94. I drop an Omen of Light. You get these by luring the Abyss monsters rares outside of their Dark Tornado. This allows me to remove that 12 energy shield from the amulet. I desecrate it again and I get 20% minion damage roll when I have hit something, which I do because I use Unearth. I find a 7-slot rune which nets me an achievement and a lineage support. Not a great one though. I get an Omen of Whittling from a ritual and decide to use it on my scepter. I can remove this useless mod if it wasn't corrupted. I can do it on the amulet and I hit lightning resist. This is a good roll too. I meet Jado for the first time while killing a pinnacle boss or whatever these types are called. He is another master with a quest. I delete a few more shields, hoping to hit Prism Guardian, and here is the next boss map. He dies, that is number 2 out of the 4. And look what our buddy Doryani just identified, a +4 minion scepter with spirit. I desecrate it and use a perfect exalt, hoping to hit spirit, but I hit flat fire damage. I activate an Abyssal Echoes and decide to not be greedy and just take the 26% spirit. This is a straight up upgrade. I slot in an Owl Idol for minion cast speed, get my old boots back for the movement speed. I load up the next big boss Jado map, encounter a few too many spirits who drop a rabbit idol which I sorely need, and then I die. Right in front of it. It's a classic. I managed to kill this annoying dude, that is number 3 for Jado, and I return to Expedition to Olroth who I kill, and he drops the Shattered Triskelion. Danik reforges it for me, fixes it essentially, meaning I can use it on that island where the meteor landed. Dispel the shield using the Triskelion, take a peek into the crater and get to fight the Aberration. Cool fight, also a bugged fight because the web and shurikens should disappear after he's dead, but okay. He drops a shard, a big ass shard. This completes the King's March Expedition questline. For the cowgirl! For the cowgirl! For the cowgirl, and I'm curious what you get from that shard. Well, it's a quarterstaff. I decided to run some more Olroth. I got the hang of it now and he drops his flask with 0 mods on it. Another bug. I also get another Shattered Triskelion which I can reforge myself now. I sail again to the island, use the thing, kill the Aberration once more, loot another massive shard and I get a chest armor. I think this is a very cool mechanic. It reminds me a bit of WoW raid tokens from bosses somehow. The good old days. I decided to take on a few more bosses. Here's an Abyss one and he drops a rare jewel. Here's Bedat, which cleanses corruption, enabling Doryani's questline. I anoint my amulet from before with some block chant. I drop a fracturing orb from those cleansed maps and some nice loot from the league mechanic. Here is a unique silver charm, a perfect jeweler's orb, and with most side quests done now, it is time to start mass rolling a bunch of maps and spend most of my currency on that. I return to my buddy Fix for some origin stuff, drop a Manamu's Gaze from an Abyss boss, drop a big ass hammer from doing more maps, and in Ritual a Bones of Uller appears, my best in slot boots. I kill another Arbiter, unlock again an entire section of the fortress for 43 Atlas passive points, and it is starting to look like someone's been gaming lately. A little later, the boots are mine. I runecraft them of course, quality and socket them, and equipping these allows me to take 2 extra specters. I have that Amanamu's Gaze, which provides a bunch of movement speed. These are very good boots. In city biomes I can use 4 tablets. Here's another perfect jeweler. My whole setup is now 6 linked. I delete 5 more shields and another 2. Take on Geonor for some fragments. An Abyssal Rogue drops a unique jewel with 4 desecrated mods. You can reveal those in the well and it's complete RNG, but I think it is a lot of fun in SSF. I corrupt it for good measure, doesn't do anything. I desecrate 2 more jewels using Abyss currency. Decent outcomes, but I should have probably saved these for something way better. I decide to delete 7 belts. Here is a pretty decent energy shield glove craft using a desecrated mod with life. That is a nice outcome, and even the mana isn't horrible as I spam Unearth. I then try my luck at another amulet, hitting spirit while chaos spamming, and just decide to desecrate these. Again, I probably should use these currencies a bit more wisely, but okay. Of course, the chances of hitting +2 minions are minuscule, so that doesn't happen. I then try to salvage one of the amulets by simply slamming, which of course doesn't work. And I try to fracture the spirit, a 1 in 4 chance, which also doesn't work, but it is hard to blame RNG in this case. I am back at Feeks, drop an ancient jawbone, the best version, guaranteeing high tier affixes. A monkey one-shots me in the ritual. Despite that, I am a big fan of ritual, however. I drop an Asmiri reliquary key. I think it's better than the Twilight counterpart. I join a Wisp Party, which is exciting, colorful, full of loot and incredibly dangerous. This rogue is going to be a challenge, but okay. Disappointing loot really, while you're watching a bit of my current build. It is very smooth, very tanky, level 94, almost level 95. It is demolishing tier 15 maps, and a single target damage is great too. I finally killed the last boss for Jado, meaning I now have all 4 available points. I reached level 95, it is a true achievement, although there is no achievement for this. To celebrate, here is another Wisp Party, with a unique Wisp too, and they capture the strongbox. Again though, it's very disappointing. A rogue exile drops the Whispering Ice, a unique staff with its own skills. Heart of Ice, an aura, and Ice Storm. As this weapon applies exposure, I can get rid of Frostbomb. I 6-link it, support it with potent exposure to increase the effect even more, plus some utility support gems like Area and Arcane Surge, and for now 2 Rebirth runes. I respec the passive tree a little bit, with less focus on curses and more on exposure for the second weapon set. Here's a little test run, 54% exposure on a unique, which stacks with the elemental weakness. This is just a ton of single target damage increase. This little node here, still bugged, since league start. I'm doing a bit of Genesis tree crafting. I think it is the only way to get catalysts, something that I don't love. It is effective, sure, but not very engaging. I do like the new ones that they added, even before the patch. To finish Doryani's questline, I need to kill the Immured, the fractured boss. Fortunately, you can use the search bar for that on the Atlas, and here he is, the Immured Fury, which concludes the last Master's quest. It's also 4 points for Dory. Here's a bugged exile, I can't release it. I do another round of Patriarch, Matriarch and the Arbiter of Divinity, drop the opportunity and finish the last section of the fortress for the final 26 Atlas passive points. Well, I still have to complete a few towers, but this is the last one. The entire Atlas is now done and I get an achievement to boot. I realize I have a bunch of reliquary keys sitting idle in my stash. It's time to gamble. You will be getting very common uniques really, but at least they are foil ones. I like that foil art, I think it's fun. And then a golden charm think, a rite of passage with Spirit of the Boar, very cool. I decided to gamble on the Venters to no avail, birth a few breach stones, do more full strength Kulamax, and it may become clear to you, dear viewer, that after all of these side quests are done and the arbiters are dead, there is no real chase goal anymore. There is plenty of discovery and I will be doing 200% Delhi maps, but the game is kinda done. Which is completely fine, by the way. I like just killing all of these bosses, I have collected all of their keystones, I think that is very fun to do, but it is already a farming activity. There's no real chase goal anymore. In solo self-found, and maybe in trade, this is the point where you min-max, which I will be in fact doing. Or this is the point where you keep exploring the game further, which I will also in fact be doing. Or this is the point where you reroll a new character, which I will definitely not be doing, as I still really dislike the campaign and really dislike how weak you feel during the campaign compared to endgame. To me that is still a big problem, but I also realize that it's just me most likely. Here is all the loot from the boss runs. Some good Darkness and Thrones, I mess around with the Undying Hate jewels a bit, they get you interesting keystones. And I get one of those terraforming devices from Doryani, which doesn't seem all that great. I get another Fracturing Orb and I probably have the most fun with Ritual. Not only is it guaranteeing you a bunch of uniques, which is amazing for SSF, it also gets incredibly hectic with multiple map bosses and rogue exiles spawning at the same time. Like here, 3 of them. This is a pretty close call, saved by my runic ward actually. Here's 3 fracturing orbs for some reason. I delete 3 more shields with chance orbs, try to fracture a spirit here, but fail. I get more amulets though and hit another 44 spirit roll. I add 3 more mods and use another fracturing orb and there it is, fractured spirit. This is a promising base amulet. I annul 2 mods and chaos spam about 10 times before hitting +2 minions, sometimes lucky. The slams are not so lucky, but it is a massive upgrade. I leave 1 affix open in case I find more desecrated currency A rune fixes resists. I get a rabbit idol into my scepter, gamble a bit more on shiny Venters. This isn't a bad outcome, and with a few lightning catalysts, I kept resistances once more. I keep on ritualing and it grants a Laviangas, which turns out to be a very common drop. I quality it, use a single divine and it is good to go. No longer having to press mana flasks, that is great. The Behemoth boss teleports me out of the ritual because of course it does. My rituals are getting more and more juicy. This one has again 3 bosses and every time I see the monkey's nameplate my heart skips a beat. Also, I just collected 70,000 tribute, no big deal. It is now that I discover you can only discover the King in the Mists if the audience with the King is in your inventory. Otherwise the icon just doesn't show up on the atlas. If you compare that to Breach, you can discover those without Breach stones in your inventory, so I think this is another bug. Well, I might as well fight him and get those ritual maps plotted, and this is where it gets really wild. First, Spirits of the Hair for rabbit idols. This then becomes a pretty nasty rogue. Here is another nice find, these gloves. Here we have a bunch of map bosses appearing simultaneously in the ritual. In total there is at least 6 of them in just this clip. I've had loads more though, and I think this is just hilarious. More rare uniques, Cospreys will, and let's see if we can spawn even more bosses in ritual. How about here? 6 at the same time. I love this shit. This game kinda doesn't as it freezes, but it also recovers somehow, allowing me to continue this insane fight. I kind of can't believe that they patched this in 0.5.3. This was probably the most fun I had whole patch. Not that the patch was bad or anything, the patch is amazing, but this type of content should exist, I feel. I hope we get this degeneracy back, even though it's costing me a map every now and then. And it's so much tribute, it's just insane. Speaking of which, here's a perfectly rolled Bones of Uller and another not so well rolled, but still my best in slot boots, and back at home I get to crafting on this thing. But I realize I can't unsocket the Amanimus Gaze, so I am much better off trying to divine my current boost to 30% efficiency. So that's exactly what I'm doing here in a few tries. My Unearth and Curses are so expensive that I decided to anoint that amulet I made with some mana efficiency and regen. I started completing the Delirium questline, not my favorite mechanic, and similar to the ritual, you can select an area which then gets overrun by Delirium Fog, like this. Pre-patch, this shit is pretty deadly. You need to get the bar up to 100% to play and open the simulacrum, but I'm already at 133%. But alright, I manage. I get to do the simulacrum, which is now only 7 waves of monsters, a huge improvement. And then after completing the simulacrum, I get the Raven's Key to be used on the Delirium hub. This turns out to be another boss covered in darkness, which is a bit of a theme this expansion. It's again a very cool fight, which again I will barely spoil. Not that you can see what is going on, let's be honest. I save the boy, get a bit of loot, and this means the Delirium questline, the Raven and the Hare, is completed. Another part of Delirium are these loathsome mires, which can spawn from mirrors inside a map. Follow the flow, find the amulet and pray. You may just get 2 notables that you want. Plus, Delirium of course provides many amazing emotions, very useful in SSF. I play around with Delhi a bit more, but still decide this game mechanic isn't for me, at least pre-patch. I do appreciate the mirrored monkey though, double the fun after all. I finished the tree, killing the 200% Delhi tier 15 map boss. I chaos spam, hoping to hit a +2 on the helmet, which I can then fracture. This doesn't happen however. I then realize I can use a perfect essence to guarantee armor and evasion by removing a guaranteed prefix on the amulet using an omen of sinistral crystallization. As all of my non-fractured prefixes are bad, this is a good trade-off. I then slam using a perfect exalt hitting tier 1 rarity, and this is great. I try my luck at some other currency that I got laying around, in this case Omens of Putrefaction. They turn all existing modifiers into desecrated ones and corrupt the item. It's good for trash rares in theory, and it's fun I feel picking desecrated modifiers. The outcome will typically be just as trash as the starting point though. Although this shield, it is not an upgrade, but it's really not bad. Or this helmet, 250 energy shield, triple resist with chaos res, it's very solid I would say. I continue crafting on this build. This is an upgrade over Ingenuity after I fix resistances with a rune. I craft a very decent Sapphire Jewel with minion stats and energy shield. I have realized at this point that liquid diluted iron guarantees an energy shield roll on a Sapphire by replacing a prefix. It's pretty easy this way to get 4 good modifiers on a jewel. I've dropped a Ramira's Requital, which I can equip on the Hellhound. It is a bit of life recovery for me, it's quite nice. I'm apparently capped on Verisium at 50k. I'm not using it a whole lot, I will say. The new crafting and skill gems for that matter are mostly lost on me. Time to delete 2 more shields and I craft another glove. These are 2 good hits. I slam Chaos Res with an Essence, use a Greater Exalted Orb for 2 affixes by using an Omen, but the outcome isn't great. And finally desecrate some more flat ES. It's definitely an improvement, quite a lot of ES. The corruption does nothing and resistances are fixed again with a rune. A new patch has hit, I think it is 0.5.2, adding way more Atlas passive points. You get all the points for free, which is nice, and a little bit more agency, which is also nice. Plus they fixed the Breach passive tree, that's amazing stuff. I am back to Expedition to unlock more recipes. I didn't know I still had to do these in the endgame. Plus I drop a Journey to the East. This leads to the option to weave a unique chest, Lore Weave, by trading in 60 unique rings. It's very cool and it's great they made a special UI for this. In the regular King's March Act 4 you can also trade runes with Pharaoh. It's pretty good, although you do need to kill bosses to refill the number of tries you have. I kill some more expedition bosses, collect more shards and things and runeforge them into an amulet this time. I keep enjoying this mechanic. You may say this is the same as Breach Tree though, why is this okay and that isn't? It's a fair point. I think this is mostly a one-time thing, which is fine, plus you can do it in a hideout. The Breach Tree is the same action 100 times after a farming session and then clicking another 100 times on the ground. I think that's the main difference for me, although conceptually these things are similar. Continuing with Expedition, I get a Breath of Eldur for the first time. I unlock another recipe. I really struggle from time to time with these bloody rune wasps. I can highly recommend just doing this content with Valgard. I make it though, great rewards of course. Using Hilda you can scavenge bosses for uniques, which is super random but I guess fine. And then I get lucky on an action I've done hundreds of times, a tier 1 spirit and a decent resistance roll. This has potential. I slam with Chaos Res, desecrate a prefix, decide to use an Abyssal Echoes of course, and decide to take the triple defensive affix, which is tier 1 as well. I decide to see if I can fracture the spirit, which I can't, so I just use a Greater Exalt instead, hitting even more armor and DS, plus a strength roll. Very good stuff. I put a rune of warding in there and a resistance rune, fixing resistances and reducing curse effect, not respectively. It is time for another Wisp Party, resulting in a stack of high tier affix jewelry, which is great. There could be some good stuff in there. As the party continues, this rogue managed to collect all of the Pokemon, becoming Super Saiyan, and it drops loot about as exciting as your average Dragon Ball Z episode. All Wisps then possess the next rogue, who becomes unkillable in the process. He does in fact kill me. It's all good though. Those amulets, what do we have? Well, plenty of them, like this +3 the minions, which I annul for reducing the number of mods to 4 and then fracture to hit the 1 in 4, sometimes lucky. I will continue this in a bit. First, more rogues. This guy drops an Idol of Rarakesh, which means 8% spirit efficiency when slot into a helmet, and a Trench Timber from another rogue for another +2 the minions. You would have to give up a shield, but still. I reach level 97, craft myself some great gloves with armor and energy shield, but unfortunately the desecrated mod doesn't help me despite 2 attempts. I spend a few points on minion crit, I feel I am tanky enough after all. I do more crafting using an Omen of Light. I can remove the desecrated mod from my scepter, and then using a Jawbone plus an Abyssal Echoes I can apply a new one and roll the results twice. As long as you have all of these materials you can endlessly reroll, hoping to hit a high spirit roll. So that's exactly what I'm doing here, and the second try I hit 56% spirit. My scepter has almost 200 spirit now and +4. It allows me to take 12 powered Zealots. And now that I'm at it, I decide to use a Rarakesh Idol too for that spirit efficiency, meaning I can increase my army further. And the next map I find another one should I craft a new helmet. And the same map, another one. I decided to expand the army with a Storm Mage and support it in such a way that it deals big shocks for increased damage. You can see all of these things in the Mobalytics guide, by the way. And then I delete more shields and belts using chance orbs. These never fail to disappoint if you like deleted items. Here is what happens when a Spirit of the Fox, which turns rares into map bosses, possesses a strong box with 5 rares. Yep, the Wisp Party never ceases to amaze me. I decide to try out another spectre, the Wasps, that are so hard to kill and so fast. Maybe they work. I am supporting them with Muster, Feeding Frenzy, Rage, Brutality and Minion Splash. Curses have way less effect as they deal physical damage, so Elemental Weakness is kinda pointless. They also reserve more spirits, so I can only have 8 of them instead of 12. That said, it works quite well. They are indeed fast, jump towards enemies and clear maps with ease. Rares definitely take a little longer to die, that is noticeable, and also league mechanics do not compare to the sheer power and reach of the powered Zealots. I do like the visual clarity though, I can actually see what is going on. Single target damage is way worse as well. The boss goes down, but he only has around 1.5 million life and it still takes a bit of time to achieve. Also, bosses in a random ritual, for example, don't melt like they used to. One last example, this queen. Armor breaks very fast, but still it doesn't compare to my previous army. Which is a shame because I do like these wasps. I do try various other variants of the wasp, but ultimately, even with a minion melee splash belt, decide it is just not good enough. I do want to share one more thing though, which I thought was interesting. I set up the army in such a way that if I cast a curse, I spawn the Zealots, and if I cast Pain Offering, I summon the Wasps. With the idea being, I use Wasps for clearing and the Zealots for single target. It does mean, however, I lose several skill slots, which is a real issue for summoners. I also lose my staff, as I need a scepter in both weapon sets, meaning exposure is gone as well. It works on paper, but less so in practice. Still, it's a fun experiment. I learned that you can create diamond jewels by reforging one of each existing jewel, and it can then roll modifiers from all jewel types. Hitting it with emotions, however, also then picks one of the effects at random, making crafting significantly harder. I haven't been able to craft something significant at this point. Another fun Wisp Party, this time a hare into a corrupted Vaal unique strongbox. I kill another Arbiter and get the same flask as before. And back at the Breach Monastery, I set up the tree in such a way it can give me Minion Splash as an FX. It's a 5% chance, so 1 in 20 builds. Not great odds, but after farming Breach for a few hours you'll get it. You can also get this, a surpassing chance for an extra projectile, great for my Zealots. 99% as well, almost the max. That means 2 sparks from them by default, plus I get more catalysts, including the new ones from the patch. From a random strongbox I drop Diala's Desire, which seems like a great support gem. And I'm doing another experiment after the Wasps. Skeletal Reavers, 23 of them, using the melee splash build. It's not bad, coverage is quite nice and they kill all the members of the Wisp Party very smoothly. And here is Geonor, also very decent damage I would say. That said, it is just not the same as the Zealots. But how about snipers? 22 snipers. Well, somehow, here is again a Wisp Party, and again they have no trouble destroying the whole crew. Here is the single target, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. It simply doesn't beat Zealots, and with all these curses and exposure available to them, they do so much more damage. And also, Zealots kill Wisp Parties just fine, as you can witness over here. A ritual drops my Prism Guardian, which I've been hunting for ages. 50 spirit and reservation, or if you mess it up, 45 spirit after corruption. Great. Fortunately, I drop a fresh one and a little later I can pick it up. No corruption this time, and this also means 14 powered Zealots. I keep doing endgame content with plenty of decent drops. Here is the Ring of Kalandra, for example. It's pretty rare, I believe. Or the max slots in an expedition, where I ultimately pick the Elder's Legacy for no clear reason. I don't really even have a good unique to turn into a rune, nor did I check eligible uniques. I just assumed something would be decent for my build. I really don't look up a whole lot in this game, I prefer the game that way for the most part. I decided to simplify the build even more, making it more of a walking simulator than it already is. I do so much damage, I don't need Elemental Weakness anymore as a curse, or the weapon set passive points for curses. Instead, I focus on exposure and cast speed for quality of life. I can now cast Ice Storm quickly. Olroth drops a Svalin, which is very cool. I won't be using that though. I get another level 20 skill gem for more powerful minions, delete some belts with chance orbs, identify a +2 helmet with decent affixes, discover the More of the Fallen Skies, which is like building your own rune. The rewards, however, are this time underwhelming, but I suppose this can be very good also. I get Forana's Siege lineage support from Medved. I join a few more Wisp parties. These remain some of my favorite content, and there are so many idols as well. I don't need them anymore, but still it's cool stuff. And then they remain active, join a new strongbox, and it is complete mayhem all over again, you'd think. But no, I'm unsure why. I mass craft solar amulets, hoping to hit good rolls, and it seems like I did. Tier 1 spirit, and another, also with tier 1 spirit, max rolls too. I decide to slam both with resistances, but I need the +3 of course. So I add a mod, fracture them, and hit the spirit on one of them. After that it is just Chaos Orb spamming until I get lucky. I have over 400 Chaos Orbs though, I've been grinding. It takes me around 250 Chaos Orbs to hit +1 and about 300 to hit +3. Now I'm in business basically. I activate a Greater Exaltation, doubling the Exalted Orb effect. This is a pretty bad outcome honestly. I decide to replace one of the prefixes with a guaranteed armor and energy shield roll, and I double slam again. Again, mana, and also lightning resistances. I'm using Divines just to hit the implicit, and I decide to quality the defenses. Using an Omen of Sinistral Erasure, you can erase a prefix by using a Chaos Orb, which would either remove the crafted mod or the mana. I hit Flat Energy Shield, which is good, but I also hit the crafted mod, which is bad. Using an Omen of Sinistral Crystallization, I can guarantee to hit a prefix with a Perfect Essence, giving me effectively another try at the roll. I missed though, I hit that flat yes. I wanted to hit the mana of course, so this was a 50-50, but never lucky. Using an Omen of Sinistral Annulment, I can then annul a prefix, which can again only be the mana or the crafted prefix, and I hit the crafted one. Another Perfect Essence then overrides that mana with the crafted affix thanks to the Omen, and now I can only slam. For spell damage. I don't have desecrated currency by the way. I don't need spell damage, so I repeat this step one more time, annulling the prefix, using the Perfect Essence, Perfect Slam, and another bloody spell damage. I divine a few more times for that extra defenses and call it a day for now. It is still a huge amulet for SSF I feel. I anoint the Soul Meridian for Spirit Reservation, which brings me from 14 Spectres to 15 plus a new Brute. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna try out some Val cards now, making them level 20, 6-link them and summon 16 of them plus a whole undead army. These guys have zero issues with flying monsters, but they are way slower than the Zealots. They do less damage too, especially on single target. Coverage is pretty good. I think you have an option to just go for these and optimize a bit, get them some more area of effect, maybe some attack speed, but I ultimately decided against these as well. Going back to the good old powered Zealots, 15 of them, plus a whole undead army. And here it is, the final form pretty much, a walking simulator for the most part. I don't have to do anything. I occasionally use the Brute's Shout to intimidate enemies. I can apply exposure by weapon swapping and raining down an ice storm, but I don't have to do any of these things. I just need to walk around, see the screen turn blue, and watch everything die around me. In case I get hit with a fairly healthy 8.2k energy shield, I press Convalescence. Delirium is definitely building up in this map, but it is barely noticeable. Remember, 200% Delirium pre-patch was already possible with fewer minions than this, but now it is pretty much a walk in the park and probably the hardest content out there. This patch was an absolute blast. It is quite amazing how much content GGG was able to put out, and almost all of it was good. I shared very few minor complaints, but in the grand scheme of things, if you are any other ARPG that tries to operate in the same space that PoE 2 does or PoE 1 does, you have a real issue. That's not our problem though, we get to experience it all pretty much for free. Here's how much I ended up playing. I managed to collect all of the challenges this league. Monsters killed are here and my deaths. Only 84, which isn't a whole lot given that I played this much. And I've also collected a whole bunch of uniques, which I usually like doing, and I'm actually pretty proud of this. But that is it though. Thanks for watching and making it to the end. This was a big one. I'm not sure what I'll do next, to be honest. I tend to take a break after a video that is this massive. I'm kinda done with Path of Exile 2 for now, I feel. I don't want to create another character, I mentioned that. I might make a guide or some SSF related content, who knows, but there's also a bunch of knowledge in this video, I would say. Plus, the PoE 1 event could be interesting. I haven't decided yet if I will play. If you have any requests, let me know. And with that said, love you all. See you soon. Bye bye.